And we are with Jim Platel, who is an amazing photographer. And I must say, thank you so much for not only bringing us into the heart of what we are. We're in Tijuana, but it doesn't feel like if we are there.
No, it doesn't feel like Tijuana.
Right? Tell us about this place. Tell us about the history of what you have captured with the beautiful images that you have in your pictures and what you're representing in the Day of the Dead. But you do way more than just that.
I do a lot more than just that, but I've been taking photographs of Day of the Dead for over 35 years now. It started in southern Mexico and Guatemala, and now, of course, it's much more popular. It's very popular here and in the United States. And here in this particular area, it's been here for about 3 years now, with the flower fields, the cempasúchil, and all of those things. So it's a beautiful culture. It's a beautiful tradition, or actually, it's more than one tradition. So it's beautiful traditions. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I wanted to come as representative as I could to honor all those years that you have put into this beautiful culture. What got you into deciding that you wanted to spend a few of those years and time into it?
Well, it's kind of a complicated story, but I first made my first trip to Mexico and Guatemala in 1983. Wow. And I grew up in Oklahoma, which was nothing like Mexico. And so when I came to Mexico and Guatemala, my mind was just blown. And the rich culture, the food, the beautiful mountains and the scenery. And I didn't know anything at all about Day of the Dead in those years. So the first couple of years that I was traveling in southern Mexico, I started seeing Day of the Dead, and it's coincidentally I started being able to travel around the Day of the Dead, so that time of year. So I gradually became more familiar with the customs. I gradually became more familiar with the places where these things are happening. I particularly love Oaxaca and Michoacan. I really haven't spent much time in Mexico City, well, no time in Mexico City around October, November, but I would like to.
And I know that there was a movie in which they did a lot of like a parade or something like that for the Day of the Dead, and then from then on, then it started to become a little bit more. The tradition was there, but not as much as it is in Michoacan, and not as much as it is in Oaxaca. But now Mexico City has just taken it and boom, taken it to another level. But a lot of people didn't know that here in Baja we have this gorgeous place.
Yeah, they've done a really nice job with the flower fields, and then this particular gallery is really interesting. When I was invited to participate here, I really liked the idea of the gallery being in the middle of a cornfield, and it's just great.
And you're also having some of your images and photographs in Tecate.
On the 28th is the opening, Friday the 28th, in Tecate, the Casa de la Cultura, and it's 42 of my photographs. And it spans all 35 years. Well, I haven't taken pictures every year for 35 years, but I've taken pictures for 35 years in various places, including Guatemala and Michoacan, Oaxaca, including San Diego even, and Tijuana.
In Old Town, I'm assuming.
I have one photograph actually in the show that's was a parade for Day of the Dead in Old Town. That's an amazing photograph. It's a family, a guy and his wife and a young child.
Yeah.
Beautiful photograph. I hope people can go and see it.
But I know that you said that you were born and raised in Oklahoma, but your family comes from Europe.
My grandfather, on my father's side, yes. My grandfather came from Holland when he was a young boy.
And does any of the Day of the Dead or any reference to any of your history of your culture that you say, oh well, because you know that the Day of the Dead for us, we bring our ancestors, and then we give them, you know, their favorite meal or their favorite food. Have you made any altar for any of your family members?
Not for my family members. Where I live, it's a little artist community, and every year we do have an altar, and we have a small exhibition as well. And we do include people that we've known that have died in that year in the altar. But in terms of my family, no. And like I said, growing up in Oklahoma, I had no clue what Day of the Dead was.
But now you can.
And now a lot of people know. And I want to actually mention one thing that's interesting, and it's in Guatemala they celebrate Day of the Dead, but they don't stay in the cemeteries at night. They go in the daytime. And they fly these giant kites in the cemeteries, and the idea is to guide the spirits down to the cemeteries. And it's really beautiful. It's very different from Mexico.
Yes.
And it's not the same scale as it is in Mexico, but it's actually really interesting.
Wow. So as you went through your history of learning about the Day of the Dead, you found like here we have the flower of cempasúchil, which is how we guide, you know, our ancestors into come, you know, where you can find your food and all that.
Right.
And then you can, and now in Guatemala they have the kites.
And actually, it was really interesting. About 10 years ago, a group of people in Oaxaca invited the kite makers from Guatemala to show them how to make the kites, and then it tied in with Japanese kite making, this one in Iago, it was in Iago, the Taller de Toledo. They had Guatemalans and Japanese and Oaxacans all making kites.
That's international. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and for putting this time into the culture and looking at all of your wonderful pictures. And I'm sorry, but I had to go through all of your pictures. And when our producer was telling us like who I was going to interview, I said, I can't stop. I can't stop. I'm looking like I can't decide which one is going to be my favorite. And then I came here and I thought that I had already seen most of the pictures, and I am surprised that what you're showcasing here is something that I didn't not
Well, this
see.
is a group of about 8 of us, I think.
Wow.
I have 3 pieces here, and other photographers and other artists have more. But yes, I have. That was the hardest part about my exhibition in Tecate, was deciding which images to put in, because I literally have thousands of Day of the Dead images.
And they're amazing, and they're
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you
Is
very
there
much.
anything that you would like to tell your audience who's watching you, how to follow you, what's next?
Well, you can follow me. Jim Platel I keep everything simple. My name on Instagram and on Facebook, and everyone is welcome. I do have a web page, jimplatel.com, and there's a section on Day of the Dead there as well as a whole bunch of other different kinds of photographs.
And do you ever host any adventures, or you just like to
No.
go solo and then
I like
do
to
your
go
own
solo
thing?
and I know, but
I'm
I'm always
trying to
open.
convince him.
I'm always open to suggestions. Let's do something.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jim, for being here with
No,
us.
thank you
you
very
so
much.
much for your time.
Thank you.
You're wonderful, and thank you for putting all this time into our culture.
Thank you.